Michalowski, editor of Concealed Carry Magazine, here with Tom Grieve, noted criminal defense attorney, and we're going to be talking about a home invasion scenario. And what we want you to learn from watching this scenario and hearing us talk about it is when you can draw your gun, when you can actually fire that gun, and what you should do if there's somebody in your house. So we'll take a look at the scenario and talk to you a little bit about that.
Oh my God! What are you doing in my house?
Hey!
Get out!
That's all right. So, Tom, taking a look at what we saw in that video, guy kicks in the door, comes bursting into the house. She immediately goes to her firearm. Are we talking about a situation right here where she could immediately shoot that guy legally?
Well, unfortunately, the answer, as always, is it depends. And one big variable that we have to keep in mind is what are the laws in this state, all right? Is this a Castle Doctrine state? Is there some sort of soft duty to retreat? Because if we're in a Castle Doctrine state, then I would say probably yes. Once the second that door breaks in, she doesn't recognize this person, and that person comes roaming through the door, I would say that in that split second, in that instant, that Castle Doctrine would most likely apply. Now, if you do have a duty to retreat or something like that, the answer is going to be probably not. And knowing that distinction and how the laws work wherever you are could be the difference between spending the rest of your life in jail or prison versus walking free.
Yeah, we had a pretty good startle response in that video. I mean, we kind of caught her off guard as we brought our bad guy in through the door. She threw the pillow at him, and she immediately jumped up, started barking commands. She wanted him out of the house, but she had her gun on her, and she went right for the gun. Did you see any problem with anything there?
No, I didn't see any problem as far as her immediately drawing her firearm. Somebody just broke into her home, was an uninvited guest, and we don't know what he has, we don't know what he's armed with, we don't know anything about what's going on and what could happen next. I think she's 100% within her rights to, at that point, defend herself with a firearm.
And actually, the only downside I saw from that video is as he backed out the door, she chased him out the door, kind of followed him out that direction. I'm thinking that's not something I want anyone to do. You got him on the run, he's leaving, stay put, where you're safe, you don't know who's outside.
Don't know who's outside, which could affect you not only from a tactical position, but also from a legal position. Because again, if all witnesses see or someone sees is you chasing somebody out the door with a gun, that's not a good idea. And folks, keep in mind that the second that he starts to back away, so she produces the firearm in self-defense, she doesn't shoot, but he stops his attack and starts to egress out that front door. Now you're gonna have a big question mark as to whether or not shooting is gonna be appropriate. I would argue not, because at that point, the threat has arguably stopped itself, and I think that if she shoots at that point, maybe a jury finds her not guilty, but she's in for one heck of a ride.
Yeah, that's the objectively reasonable force. You can only use force until the threat stops. And if this guy is backing away, yes, he might be in the house, and we will get people commenting, well, I'd shoot him anyway because he's in the house. But if you take that shot, you are opening yourself up to a huge legal can of worms if this guy's already backing away. I always tell people, if the bad guy's running away, let him run away.
Right, and we don't know where there's cameras, we just don't know what's going on. So a lot of times people, particularly if they're gonna be, keyboard commandos, they might say things, but they don't understand how much forensics and how much cameras, maybe there's a camera on the street that's pointed at the door that will somehow show that, you know what, he was backing out when she pulled the trigger. So you just don't know, which is the reason why we only use deadly force to stop the threat, period.
All right, quick recap on what we learned there. Make sure you know your laws, what's going on around you, what's happening. You need to know if you have to retreat or if you can use force in that case. I want you to keep your firearm with you and probably bark some commands and tell people what you want. But if the threat stops, you need to stop using force. Don't be chasing this guy down the street.